Hey, welcome back to Dixon Twitch. Back today with a Legacy Death and Taxes League. And this hand's okay. It's got a curve starting from turn 2 with Thalia into either Prelate or Skyclave or Flickwisp if it's relevant. It doesn't have a turn 1 play, which is pretty huge, but I don't mind that the Flagstones is Wasteland proof. And obviously Thalia is just quite a good card in the blind, so I'm going to keep this. We are on the draw as well, so we do have the possibility of drawing a Mother of Runes or an Aether Vial, which would be quite nice. Folk Ponder. Okay. So most likely looking at a Delver deck or a Show and Tell deck. Obviously a turn 1 Delver against this hand is pretty strong. We don't have the Swords to Plowshares, and Thalia is coming down pretty late. It's going to go Plains Pass. See what my opponent casts here, because we do have a decision next turn of Spirit or Thalia. The upside of playing Spirit next turn is that on turn 3 we have access to either a 3-drop or playing Thalia with Caracas open. I feel like my opponent's holding up Brainstorm Fetch. And I think just because we could be against a Daze deck, I'm pretty happy to kind of play a little bit slow. And so go Spirit of Labyrinth here, and then next turn, most likely Thalia, if we don't draw another land. But I can only assume it's either Brainstorm in response, or Fetch first. That means they probably kept with a Ponder. Yeah, okay. The reason that I like going Spirit here is that next turn if we can land the Thalia with Caracas open, it's going to take a few cards for our opponent to actually deal with them. And there's Daze. So that makes me think this is going to be a Delver deck, which isn't too bad. We haven't seen a threat yet, which is nice. Oh, okay, Ancient Tomb puts us back on Show and Tell. Sneak Attack's pretty good. We do have the Skyclave here, which I am just going to throw away. Caracas doesn't do a whole lot. If we just pass with Caracas open, what they can do is use 1 red to put a creature into play, go to attacks. If it's Emrakul, we have to return it to the hand. I guess if it's Grizzlebrand in hand, they can probably draw to it, so I think here the best play is just to try to Skyclave this Sneak Attack away. Nice. That's a pretty huge win. Because another Daze there would have been brutal. Force blue card would have been brutal. Alright, now we're in a pretty good spot. So let's attack first. And then make a decision on what we want to do. So if I'm really scared of Show and Tell, we can play Sanctum Prelate on 3. That also turns off Cunning Wish, which is pretty interesting, which is also a way for my opponent to get removal from the sideboard. We're definitely playing Caracas. That's our land for turn. And I think it is just going to be Prelate for 3. We can cast Prelate and see what they do in response. We do have Flicker Wisp as well for the Skyclave in case they play another Sneak Attack and pass. Okay. Let's attack with both creatures. Puts them to 11. And then we have a 2-turn clock with Thalia in play, which is kind of nice. Gonna tap like, yeah, like this. In a really nice spot because these Ancient Tombs are definitely going to add up as well if our opponent wants to use these to cast any spells. Looks like it's just a pass back. Trying to think what I want to do here. My opponent's actually pretty close to hard casting Omniscience, but they would have to use their tombs, so we actually am pretty covered here. Because if they want to fetch and use 2 tombs, that's 5. The question is, do I want to put another creature on the board? I think the answer is yes. There's definitely more math to be considered, but there's a chance that just putting Flicker Wisp into play, and then even if they attack with Emrakul off a sneak attack, then I have 2 creatures to keep, because 2, 4, 6, which gives me 2 and 3 left over, which is 5, and they would have used life as well to play it, so I think it's fine just to play Flicker Wisp here. There's nothing really that I want to flicker here, so I'm just going to flicker a land, because it means I can hold up Swords to Plowshares, if relevant. Most likely not. This is going to be an interesting matchup. This is one where I really like the Aethersworn Canonists. The extra prelate's really nice. Council's Judgment is interesting. Again, mainly just for the situation like we had before where they played out sneak attack and then passed. Alright. So let's quickly look at our board. We definitely want these 3. I don't think Surgical is good enough. I'm not really a player that likes to, Surgical show and tell, because if my opponent has cast a show and tell, they're probably going to try to win from there. I don't think it's not really a way to attack their game plan. I like these 4. I like dropping some amount of swords. Revoke is still nice as a one-off because of Grizzlebrand, Lotus Petal, and Sneak Attack. Spirit's obviously quite good. The Stoneforge Mystic package is okay, especially at either protecting a creature from some sort of sweeper like Pyroclasm or Kozilek's Return. It's also quite good against Abrade because they have to Abrade something like sort of Fire and Ice before they get to the creature. It also just makes our bears that are pretty slow into real threats. So I don't mind just the 4-4 split. Oh, sorry. I think that's pretty strong. Nothing else really comes to mind. I don't think this is a matchup where I want Cataclysm either. Pretty happy just to roll with this and see how it goes. We do also still have Skyclave Apparition for removal in case they're playing some sort of creatures that aren't just the show and tell and sneak attack targets. This is a really strong hand if we have a white source, but we don't have a white source. And I don't think this hand... I think this hand just loses to itself if I don't draw the white source as early as turn 1, because I really want Mum turn 1 to protect one of these creatures, so I am going to mulligan once. This is a better hand. We have Karakas and Port and a turn 1 Vial. We also have Mum into Thalia, which is nice, so I'm going to drop the Jide because we can find it with Stoneforge Mystic, and it's also not as relevant in this matchup as others. Flicker is also just nice pressure, so keep this, bottom the Jit. Opponent went to 6 cards as well. Goes through an island into Ponder. Always interesting when they go for an island instead of a volcanic off the Ponder. Makes me think they just want to make sure that their mana can't be touched early on, but luckily Port lines up really well against their basic strategy, whereas Wasteland doesn't, so have them covered, which is good. And for us, I think a turn 1 Vial into turn 2 Port is just really nice. Okay. Zera's kind of nice because it is pretty good pressure. I'm not going to show the Krakus yet. They're going to force that, which is pretty big. Pitching in Omniscience, so that's going to be fine. Double Island's fine. Here's Thalia. That survives, which is fantastic. And just a pass, wow, okay. Well, now I'm pretty happy to probably just play out Mum here. And then hold up Port. And then next turn we get to, if we draw a land, play Flickwisp, flicker a land, hold up Port. Just to keep damage going. Because this deck is really only going to win through pressure. Don't even float mana, so no Brainstorm. It'll be interesting to see if they play a Soul Land out like Ancient Tomb, because then Port can either go after the Tomb being 2 mana, or it can go after one of the islands to stop, say, Ponder into Preordain or Cantrip into Cantrip. Another Port would be a pretty fantastic draw as well. Because I'm going to put my opponent on either a Braid, Pyroclasm, or something else. And they did play out the city. Interesting. Can we draw a Wasteland? Plains. Okay. That's still pretty strong. I'm just going to attack with the Thalia. And now we can tap like this. This way, if the Flickwisp gets countered, we still have Caracas open, but if it doesn't, we get to flicker the Port. Nice. And now we have a 3-turn clock, which is great. Definitely go after that city. Just because city is a great way to play around Thalia in a way. So to take this mana off them now is pretty strong. This also means that they don't get the mana during the main phase when they probably want to play another land. So city in that way with Port is a little bit awkward. Could see something like a Cunning Wish. Interesting. See what they wish for. Intuition. Okay, so going the slow route, but still an instant speed route. So I think my best draw here is actually we're in a really nice spot because we get to do some shenanigans. 3. Yeah, okay, so here we can attack for 5, put them to 9. They're tapped out, so they can't do anything. Use 3 mana to play Flickwisp, flicker out our own Flickwisp, play the Caracas for Port, end step Flickwisp comes back, exile the City of Traders, and then upkeep we get to port down a land as well, and then swing in for lethal next turn. I could attack with the Mum, but I'm pretty happy just to play like this. Flicker Flickwisp. Play Caracas. So we want to keep this one. Flickwisp comes back. Trigger. Take out the city. Upkeep we have Port. And then we have 9. this is a pretty aggressive brainstorm because I've played a land already. They can't play anything through Thalia like Lotus Petal. So I'm not too sure what they're going to be finding here. Other than something like end step City of Traders comes back, and then they have Spirit Guide to play something like Sulfur Elemental. That's probably the only out my opponent has here. I'm just going to tap this down now to make sure that there's nothing coming. Yeah, okay. Nice. That was pretty awesome. A nice way to start the league. Show and Tell, I would say a favored matchup, but with the Omniscience plan, it can be pretty awkward. Obviously, Omniscience isn't something that Skyclave Apparition can hit, and the likes of Leon and Relic Water doesn't see too much play anymore because of cards like Skyclave hitting the majority of artifacts and enchantments we care about. But yeah, you know, Show and Tell into Omniscience into Emrakul is still a pretty big issue, and something that the deck hasn't really found a great answer for, other than Mana Denial the early game and the mid game to not allow that to actually happen. So I feel like this hand pretty much did that. Thalia was really strong. We got a force on the turn 1 Aether Vial. I kind of like playing the port there for the Vial because it might show that we have a weak mana base and have to rely on the Vial to get our threats out, but luckily we had the Crackers as well for the white source, so pretty sweet. Always a nice way to start the league. If you enjoy this content, definitely consider subscribing. I usually stream twice a week, Thursday nights at Australian Eastern Standard Time of 7:30 PM, and usually Sunday mornings around 10:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time, so check that out. Obviously this YouTube exclusive content goes here as well, so be sure to subscribe if you do like this. We'll see you for Game 2. Thanks.